All right, hello 6th grade. Welcome to reading for today. Today in reading, we're covering a pretty basic topic, I think, the key idea and how to develop it. All right, let's get into it. So the key idea is something you're all familiar with. It's like your thesis statement. Well, it is your thesis statement whenever you write a 5-paragraph essay or something similar. In any piece of nonfiction, the key idea is the main message that the author wants to tell the reader. Here's some examples. In a persuasive speech that tries to convince people to vote, the key idea would be that voting is an important right for Americans. All right, pretty basic. In an essay about sports and society, the key idea might be that athletes should be role models. Sure. Key ideas can be stated directly or they can be implied. So if a key idea is stated directly, then the author clearly says it somewhere in their piece. That's what you guys do whenever you write a thesis statement. You're stating it directly. For example, athletes should be role models for their fans. Many young people admire and look up to athletes, which means that athletes can influence what those young people think. Athletes need to make sure that they use that power for good. This right here in the bold, this is the key idea. That is usually the key idea will be at the very beginning. Sometimes authors will put it at the very end, but it generally is not found right in the middle. Okay. Key ideas can also be implied. This is where it gets a little trickier, because with implication, if they're implying it, then the author is suggesting it through their writing. They don't come right out and say it. Maybe something like that would read like this. Some athletes know that their young fans look up to them, and so they act respectfully and kindly to set an example for their fans. This is a good use of their influence. Okay, so we can look right down here at this is a good use of their influence and realize that the author approves of when athletes do this, when they show a good example to their fans. So we could probably guess that the author is implying that athletes should be good role models for kids. Do you see how it's not written out directly, but we can pretty easily guess that? That's what it means when the key idea is implied. And when you guys write 5-paragraph essays, I don't think you will really ever have an implied main idea or key idea. Yours is usually always stated directly. Okay. Developing or proving a key idea. So whether your key idea is directly stated or implied, it's gotta get developed. In other words, if you say something, you have to prove it. This is what all of our essay writing is. It starts out with the intro paragraph, where we give the main idea, and usually it's just one sentence that gives that main idea. The whole rest of the paper is just us proving it, giving examples or quotes or facts that help put the main idea up on a pedestal so that we can really understand why the author believes it. So here are some tools or devices, we call them, for supporting the key ideas. Okay, hang with me for a sec, but imagine you need to fix a broken chair. Oh no, someone sat on it too hard or maybe jumped on it, and now it's all broken up, so we gotta fix it. You could use a few different tools. You could use tape, you could use a drill, or a hammer, some glue, a clamp. All of these tools are things that you could use to help the chair stand up on its own. Okay, the chair is kind of like the key idea. It's great, but it needs a little bit of help to stand up on its own. So we'll use our tools. We could use something like anecdotes, which is like a short little story that helps prove your point. You could use facts. You could use figurative language. You could use quotations. You could use examples. All of these are tools that you can use to support your key idea so that it can stand up on its own. Okay, here is my example key idea. Jellyfish are the best animal. Now, this right here is an opinion, so I'll need to do a lot of work to make sure that I can prove why I believe this is true. Alright, so we're starting with our broken chair. Let's get our tools to fix it up. I'll start out with an anecdote. An anecdote is a short story used to make a point. As I walked through Omaha Zoo's aquarium, I stopped short. speechless at the sight of the jellyfish room. I was amazed by the graceful beauty of the bright orange jellyfish, which lined the walls, and the translucent ones, which swam like a centerpiece in the middle. This is something that I felt one time when I went to the Omaha Zoo. It's a great zoo, and one of the reasons I love it so much is because it has a jellyfish room in the aquarium. That was kind of not a major life moment for me, but it was a short little story that helps me show why I like jellyfish so much. Okay, so we used some tape, let's use a drill. Facts. A fact is a piece of true information that can be proven. Okay, for many jellyfish, when they reproduce, they do not give birth to baby jellyfish. Instead, they make a polyp, which is like an anemone, like from Finding Nemo, that then grows on the ocean floor. The polyp creates a stack of discs that float away, eventually growing tentacles and becoming jellyfish. I learned this fact when I was a little bit younger, and I was kind of blown away. I thought that jellyfish always gave birth to tiny little baby ones, but it turns out that they make a little seed that falls down, hits the ocean floor, turns into an anemone-looking thing. Then that makes a stack of like upside-down discs that float away and become jellyfish. And then those make more polyps. It's an interesting cycle. And this helps prove that jellyfish are interesting, which helps prove my main point, that they're the best animal. Alright, figurative language. Let's use a hammer. Figurative language is often colorful comparisons between two things. This is when we use words in a beautiful way to try to capture our reader's attention. Jellyfish are like the graceful ballerinas of the sea, their tentacles like ribbons twisting on the stage. So I compared jellyfish to ballerinas and their tentacles to ribbons. That's a way for me to capture your attention so that you're more interested in what I have to say. Quotations, the clam. Alright, quotations are the exact words of a key person, often an expert. So I found this quote from someone else who also likes jellyfish. A jellyfish, if you watch it long enough, begins to look like a heart beating. It's their pulse, the way they contract swiftly, then release, like a ghost heart. A heart you can see right through, right into some other world where everything you ever lost has gone to hide. Not only is this a quote from somebody else, it is very beautiful and interesting to read. This is by Allie Benjamin in something she wrote called The Thing About Jellyfish. If you've ever tell me if you've ever had this situation happen. You're trying to convince a friend of something. Maybe you're trying to convince them that jellyfish are the best animal, but they won't hear it from you until they hear your same exact point from someone else, maybe a different friend, maybe someone they respect. When they hear it from someone else, they're like, oh, okay. If that person believes it, I believe it. It's very frustrating for you because you were telling them that the whole time. But it's a good way to show how using quotes from other people can help you make your point as well. The last thing we're going to talk about here, examples, the glue that we're using on our chair. Okay, examples are specific cases or events that illustrate ideas. So here's an example of a very cool jellyfish. The lion's mane jellyfish has a stunning light blue transparent bell that can grow to be 8 feet wide. Its vibrant orange and red tentacles can stretch to over 100 feet as it drifts lazily through the deep. So right here, this is an example. It's also a fact, right? And maybe a little bit of figurative language is getting in there with how I describe the bell and the tentacles. But mostly, it's an example of one type of jellyfish that proves my point that jellyfish are the best animals. Okay, now whether or not you agree with my newly refurbished, beautifully repaired chair, the fact that jellyfish are the best animal, well, that's up to you. But this was all for me to show you how you can use these different tools, these different devices, to really beef up your opinion that you want to try to prove, or just whatever your statement is. All right. Thank you for joining me today, 6th grade. Have a good rest of your day and a good Easter break. I hope you all get a good chance to relax after these crazy 2.5 weeks that we've had. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.